Hello everyone, welcome back to the Patriotic Angle. So if you remember, about a week ago, I made a video about James Fishback and Byron Donalds, and some political drama down in Florida. So if you haven't seen that video yet, you totally should. I'll link it in the description below. But on the day I'm recording this, the debate between the Republican candidates to be Florida's governor happened, and I'll get to a few of those details, but the biggest one is that Donalds did not show up, to no one's surprise really, because, you know, many things could have happened. Maybe Israel paid him not to show up, maybe he's too scared to go against a good debater like Mr. Fishback. But Fishback did have two candidates to debate against, and it was a relatively interesting thing to watch. There was Jay Collins, who was the lieutenant governor, and there was Paul Renner, a former Speaker of the Florida House, who, I'm gonna be totally honest, I didn't even know he existed before today's debate, but I'm gonna be totally honest too. I kind of miss the days that I didn't know he existed, because he did not put up a good debate at all. He was, well, I'll talk about that later, but it was an embarrassing. It was embarrassing for both Collins and Renner. One of Renner's statements that just struck me as odd was when he said this.
There are failed states now in America, and people want to live in Florida. And look, if I could, I often say I would love to build a wall at the Georgia-Alabama line and make California pay for it to keep people from coming in. Because it is a supply and demand problem. I agree with James on illegal immigrants as being a source of the problem.
That's just not a good plan. Like, I'm sorry, Renner, but no, that would not benefit Florida. I don't think you understand how much of Florida's economy depends on tourism. That's a big part of it. Building a wall on the Alabama-Georgia border, that just simply would be a terrible idea. Obviously, I agree with the whole illegal immigration thing. I'm a huge defender of border security, but no, like, that's just a very stupid plan. That's when I completely stopped listening to anything he was saying. However, there are two things that all of these candidates could agree on. One, Ron DeSantis was an amazing governor, has done a great job for Florida, but they also agreed with the fact that Byron Donalds, kind of a crappy, scummy guy, kind of a crooked politician. I don't know. I mean, if you're not gonna show up to debate for the job you want, I feel like you don't really deserve the job. And it was brought up how much money was going to Byron Donalds' campaign, and the high percentage that Donalds somehow had in the polls, which, I'm sorry, but that's gotta be bullcrap. And Fishback even addresses this.
$2.9 million, almost $8 million of volume is on Kalshi, and they have Byron Donalds at 95.5%.
How much of that money is from out of state?
There you go.
And how much of that money is from? How much of that money is from a Middle Eastern country?
Okay,
And how
so
much?
That's a fair question.
And if I may,
They're rigging it. They're rigging the election.
Hold on a second. Let me.
Please.
So it's pretty clear where Fishback stands on that, which of course the other candidates are kind of ticked about Donalds too, just because somehow he's leading in the primaries, or so we're being told. But for quite some time, they all kind of just took turns bashing Donalds, not really debating each other on policy, just crapping on the guy who decided that he didn't want to be there. So eventually, the moderator essentially had to say this.
Then we went on Byron Donalds compared to Ron DeSantis. But let's talk about the folks on the panel. I'm going to open up the next 10 minutes for you individually to ask each other any questions. It's open. You're officially the moderator. Each of you gets to ask the other person a question and address certain issues, because the audience has to decide right now, hey, if you guys continue going like this, It's done. It's slam dunk for Byron Donalds. But we have to now decide which of you three can go up against him one-on-one. So I'll open it up. Who would like to go first?
Well, I'll answer. I think I'm answering your question is that Byron Donalds is a name you know for this reason. For the last 5 years in Congress, D.C. is a very dangerous place.
Oh, yeah, and then Paul kind of just continues to go on about how Byron Donalds is crappy. Didn't, really listen to the moderator, but eventually things do get kind of spicy in some arguments between Fishback and Collins, which were the true competitors in this debate. Renner was kind of just his own guy, nobody really views him as a threat. I didn't even know he existed before I watched this debate. But anyways, here I'm going to show some of the spicy arguments between Fishback and Collins.
If they're going to build a large experimental data center in a neighborhood here in Broward County or up in Sumter County, and you had the opportunity to stop it, to ban new experimental data centers in Florida, would you do that, yes or no?
I'm not going to give you a yes or no. I'm going to give you the real answer here. Look, life is very, very clear. Well, let me finish. Here's the facts. You have to understand governance, and you have to understand that you just don't get to drop bombs. That's not how government works.
They're going to bomb our community with rising electricity rates. They're going to destroy our water. It's just very simple.
James, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would, but not at the state level. We want to empower the local people, the local governments to do the right thing.
The local people don't want anything to do with data centers.
You're absolutely right. And they should ban that at that local level, at the city or county.
State level, though.
Once government starts reaching in and clawing back, it never slows down. I'm at the state level. Nobody wants the state reaching in. Do you want the federal government in your life more?
What we want is we want a leader to stand up and ban data centers in Florida. And as governor, I'll be proud to do that.
So let me be clear here, James. What you're talking about isn't a governor. Are you going to be a king? Are you going to be the king of Florida?
Listen,
is that what you're going to do?
Man, you've won a debate when your opponent starts arguing like a liberal. I'm sorry, but shouldn't we as conservatives know better than anyone else how cringe calling people kings are? Like, at least call them Hitler or like Stalin. Like, no one actually calls people kings anymore, except for the liberals that are getting paid to protest at your local Walgreens. That's not something that happens anymore. We left that in the 1800s with Andrew Jackson. But this also isn't the only time that Collins will call Fishback a king. He does this. It's kind of a continuous thing throughout the debate. Not entirely sure why, but he also is very adamant about how he served in the military. Even when a question is asked that is not related to that at all, he'll mention that he served in the military. It's like how John Kerry won 3 Purple Hearts. Then that was his whole presidential campaign. It gives that effect. An additional thing, I don't know if you knew about this, but not too long ago, Jay Collins filed a lawsuit against Fishback, basically trying to say that Fishback didn't meet the eligibility to run for Florida governor, saying that he didn't meet the 7-year requirements of Florida residency to run for governor. So, of course, this debate happened.
Where was it? Where did I grow up?
I think you grew up in
Where did I grow up, Jay? Where did I grow up? Here in Florida.
You called Madison home, right?
I grew up here in Florida, right? All right, case closed. Drop the lawsuit.
Oh, really? James, let me be clear on this, buddy. We're not going to discuss that. And the reality is...
Why not? Why don't we discuss the fact that a Montana man hired a California lawyer to sue Governor DeSantis' administration to remove a 4th-generation Floridian from your ballot? You're trying to steal the election with Byron Donalds.
Because...
You can really just tell how threatened by Fishback these politicians are. If they are working this hard to, file a lawsuit against him, are you kidding me? It's just so clear that they want him out of the race. I mean, it's a miracle that the debate even happened. It wasn't originally going to. We're still hoping that Donalds will show up to a debate. We're all hoping that it happens someday. We still have a little over a month for that to happen until the primaries are gonna happen. But I think we all know the runner-up is going to be either Fishback or Donalds. That's a fact. Jay Collins and Paul Renner are both just, they're duds. I mean, honestly, people don't really follow them as much as they follow Fishback or Donalds. I think it's clearly gonna be between those two. Those are the two main rivals. Those are the two people that have a strong enough following to have a chance of being Florida's best governor. And it's gonna be one of those two, because you know Florida's not voting for a Democrat. But, to be honest, the point I wanted to make with this video was that I think Fishback cooked. I think Fishback did amazing. I think Jay Collins flopped, especially when this happened.
Just a quick show of hands on the stage and in the audience. Quick show of hands if you voted for Ron DeSantis in 2018. Jay, why didn't you vote for Ron DeSantis in 2018?
Well, sorry, I wasn't really listening to your question.
Did you vote for Ron DeSantis in 2018, yes or no?
In 2018?
Yes. That's a no. That's a no.
I think this really hurt any chance that Collins had of becoming the next governor, of winning the Republican Party, of winning the votes of the conservative movement. If there was a split chance that he had, it's gone now. He's done. Not voting for Ron DeSantis in such a conservative state as Florida, where Ron DeSantis is so greatly liked, you know that's really hurting him. You know that. In fact, I'm gonna make a prediction here. Jay Collins will drop out soon. He will. Mark my words. But I think I'm gonna end the video here, as I think I've made my statement very clear. I still support Fishback. I think he's going to be amazing for that state. My hat goes off to anyone who supports him, anyone who votes him, and it's going to be really hard. I think it truly will be hard for Republicans to back Fishback, because Trump has endorsed Donalds, and I'm sure if DeSantis were to endorse anyone, it would most likely be Collins, just because he's the lieutenant governor. He's worked with him so well. But, you know, I'm hoping that Fishback can make a good win here. So let me know if there's any parts of the debates that I left out that you wish would be brought up. I'm sure with the upcoming Michigan Republican debate, I'm sure I'll make a video on that when that happens. Let me know if there's any political news that you would like me to cover, because most likely I will. I read all of my comments because I get so little. So all I want to say is have a happy 4th, celebrate it well, happy 250th birthday to the greatest country on earth, and I'll see you all later. Peace.